Hey, what's going on? My name is Elder Ripper, and I am an entrepreneur here in Tokyo, Japan, and I have been for the last year and 6 months or so, give or take. And as of recently, in October of 2025 of this year, Japan has officially changed all of the rules in and around the business manager visa, and necessarily that is impacting the startup visa, which is the subject of the video for today. So, now that the business manager visa is requiring 30 million yen, and I think you need to hire a Japanese person, and you need to be able to speak Japanese, and all of that on top of like doing the application, actually having to get your business model approved, and the whole figuring out your apartment stuff, and man, I digress. Now, that's impacting the startup manager visa. So for those of you who don't know, the startup visa, startup manager visa prior, it was previously called that, is a visa type that the Japanese government rolled out some almost a decade ago and have since been like tweaking it to entice like entrepreneurs like myself and like you probably around the world to come to Japan and start up businesses, help them out with revitalizing the economy, etc., etc. The issue, though, what the startup visa really is supposed to do, right? And why this is a problem now that they've updated the business manager visa is because the ultimate objective of the startup manager visa is to translate into a business manager visa, right? So I'll just say that one more time. The startup visa was basically just a gateway to get you into the business manager visa. And I mean, that makes sense, right? The whole point of starting a business is to have it be successful to some extent, right? And, naturally you would want to transition over to that 5 million yen business manager visa from there. But with the new capital requirements of 30 million yen, they're actually becoming much stricter with how they're going about the process with the startup manager visa. So before, where the ultimate objective of the startup manager visa was at the end of a 1 year to maybe 2 year time period, you would transition to a business manager visa. Before, like, the capital requirements and everything weren't that bad, right? Because it was 5 million yen, and it was realistic enough for most people without having a very solid plan, or comparatively super solid plan, that they might be able to get 5 million yen in some sort of funding or what have you within a 2 year time window. And so the application process was a little bit easier. But now that it's required that at the end of 1 to 2 years, you will have to have 30 million yen to transition into the business manager visa, they're taking that into consideration with the way that they're going about approving the startup manager visa, right? Or the startup visa. So, what that means for those of you out there who are looking to apply for the startup visa, if you do not have a realistic plan put together in a feasible way for you to be able to get at 30 million yen in funding within a 2 year time period of coming to Japan, then it's more than likely that your startup visa will get rejected. The reason why is because the entire purpose, coming back to what I was saying at the beginning of the video, the entire purpose of the startup manager visa is to transition over to a business manager visa. And if you, upon like submitting your application for the startup visa, aren't able to show or have a plan or etc., that you're going to be able to be in a position to have 30 million yen to supply your business with at the end of a 2 year time period, then unfortunately, from what I've been seeing so far, it is more than likely that your startup visa will get rejected. I have recently been going through the startup visa process myself, because a whole other bag of worms. But like, due to my visa status and all that, I'm necessarily needing to transition over to a different visa type, and as a result of the startup visa, needing 30 million yen, it's become a much more difficult process, right, for me and for the rest of us out there. So just to lay the groundwork for you all, and so that way you maybe have a little bit less questions. You can just Google startup visa, right now during this video. Google it, and a startup visa Japan, and you'll probably get a governmental website like Tokyo Startups, or Jetra, that'll explain all of the requirements of a startup visa. Right now, there are basically, for you to submit a startup application, you'll need to go onto one of those websites, right? One of the different prefectures that sponsors for the visa. You'll need to find their application materials. For the city of Tokyo, they have like 3 documents that you need to fill out, and then a ton of additional documents that they'll require that you submit. Okay, and just so we're all on the same page, the website is called Invest Tokyo if you want to, apply for like a Tokyo visa. I've actually heard through the grapevine that Fukuoka is really good to apply for the startup visa through. But just keep in mind that these programs, although they do technically allow you to apply globally, still want you to be, in the city that you're applying through. So technically, they allow you to be anywhere nationally, or at least some sort of initiative was put into effect to enable for that. But in reality, the programs are still entirely designed and equipped only for if you are actually starting up the business in the city that you're applying through, or the sponsoring entity that you're applying through. So there are 2 critical requirements of the startup visa now that you'll need to abide by. You need to satisfy one of these 2 critical requirements. Actually, it's not both. So you either need to have a post undergrad degree, like a master's or doctorate, typically in pertinence or like with context in regards to what you're actually trying to do. So let's say that you have an international business master's, like I do. Then you're pretty safe, applying to do a business out here, because that kind of falls generally under doing business internationally. But let's say that you have a more specialized degree type like art or something, and you're applying to be an AI engineer startup company. Without some really good examples or proof as to why that makes sense for you as a professional to be in that role with that degree, you're risking some difficulty when it comes to applying for the startup visa. The second critical thing is that you need to have engaged in the management of a related business for at least 1 year. So, sorry, let me say that one more time. You need to have engaged in management or business of a related business for at least 1 year. Yeah, English isn't their forte, which is pretty funny because I think they're marketing themselves as the bridge between Japan and the rest of the world. I mean, no judgment. This is Japan. Speak Japanese when you're here, okay? So, just to clarify, you will need to learn Japanese if you want to be an entrepreneur in Japan. And you should abide by the culture here. But it is funny that their English is a little off. So yeah, you're going to need, on top of the 30 million yen a plan, right, to accomplish 30 million yen in a Japanese bank account out here within a 2-year time period, as well as a plan to be able to hire at least 1 Japanese person who can speak Japanese fluently. It needs to be a Japanese national or a person with permanent residency. Either way, if it is a Japanese national or a person with permanent residency, if both of those people somehow don't speak Japanese, like I have a couple of gaijin friends who have naturalized, but their Japanese isn't fluent. So as a result of that, there is a scenario where you might have to hire 3 people, right? There needs to be somebody who can speak Japanese at a high degree of fluency within the company. That's a requirement from here. And one of the optional requirements, again, for the startup visa is either you need to go through and have had 1 year of business management experience, 1 year of experience in a related business that you're trying to launch, or a post-undergraduate degree. Those are now strong requirements of the startup visa application process, which frankly makes the startup visa a lot less enticing as an option as an entrepreneur coming to Japan, right? So what can we do instead of the startup visa? Well, I'll be covering this in more detail in another video, especially if I get 1 or 2 comments about this on this video. Like if you guys are actually interested in learning more about some of the hacks that I've been finding in the new, kind of legislative system. But, suffice it to say, you have a couple of options available to you to still be able to come out here and start up a business, of which they're kind of actually in line with what Japan is looking to have foreigners do, and in the best interest of any foreign entrepreneur trying to enter the Japanese market. some of those options include finding a Japanese co-founder, which has always been, one of the most highly advised, methods of entering Japan. But with the new legislation in and around the business manager visa and the subsequent waterfall effects and implications that they have on the startup manager visa here, it's looking like that's going to be one of the most direct paths to being able to launch a business here in Japan, either through somebody with PR, Japanese resident, or some mixture of the two for that team. You have additional options like maybe coming out here as a student, and bum rushing PR, or working a couple of years with like the way that like the PR points work and trying to get PR as quickly as possible as a founder out here. There are options and ways that you can work around the system when it comes to that. If your ultimate objective is being able to employ yourself, work for yourself, and build a business out here. So it looks like now that the startup or the management visa has taken the hits that it has, that those implications now also are impacting the startup visa. So it's making it much harder for foreign entrepreneurs to come in and help innovate in the Japanese market. And I'll keep you guys apprised as to how things are evolving for myself and how I'm seeing other entrepreneurs who are entering Japan now and who are making it work, given all of this. So if you guys are interested in learning more about other ways that you might be able to find out how to come here and start up a business, some more creative solutions, there are some really valuable programs that I know about. Drop a comment on this video, and if I get enough of them, then I'll make another video on this. So as per usual, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully I was a little bit helpful in your journey of becoming an entrepreneur globally, and let's continue rocking it, people. Thank you.